All right, welcome back to another week of our weekly predictions. Tristan here, along with Jacob, and let's just start right off getting into it. Thursday night football, Tennessee at Green Bay. We both picked Tennessee in this one, and I think it was pretty easy to tell. Aaron Rodgers just still hasn't been able to get a hold of himself, and Tennessee easily takes over Green Bay.
Yeah, sort of a close game, but the difference was the Packers just weren't able to get the run game going, and obviously the Titans did. So I think that's one of the biggest factors. And now that Ryan Tannehill's returned, it seems like the Titans have added or regained that other facet to their offense. So I think that makes them a significantly better team, and we saw it.
I'll tell you what, though, Christian Watson's starting to come on. He has 5 touchdowns in 2 games. Now leads all rookies in touchdowns on the season. I mean, he has really come on recently and I mean, I know after the first game, a lot of people were thinking, he probably was going to be a bust after that wide open drop. So
Yeah.
it's good to see him start to come on. If you guys are into fantasy, definitely one that I would look to try to pick up if he's still available. Probably not, but definitely one I'd look to pick up. Next game, Bears at the Falcons.
Another game.
This is a close game.
Another game where the Bears score a lot of points but still somehow lose. This has been the real, I'm trying to find the word. This has been kind of their template the past few weeks. Have a very good run game, okay passing game with a pick, but you score a lot of points and you're really close. So the Bears they've certainly found something out, and that's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, although I think a big piece of this was Justin Fields also got hurt mid-game, which definitely I think held them back a little bit. And real quick, I want to just skip to the Jets and Patriots game because there's not much to talk about in that game. It was a 3-3 game all the way up until 20 seconds left when the Jets punted the ball away and the Patriots returned a kick. But did you see the press conference afterwards with Zach Wilson where someone asked, "Oh, do you feel like as an offense with your defense only holding them to 3 points that you failed as an offense?" And Zach Wilson's like, "No, we didn't do anything wrong." I'm like, how in
That's
the world?
completely incorrect.
Yeah, and I wanted to skip to that because there was a tweet that Justin Fields sent out after the Bears game apologizing for losing the game while he was playing injured. Like, you just see two totally different sides of an NFL quarterback there.
Yeah, I think people are starting to kind of reach the wits ends with Zach Wilson. I mean, there was the year stuff where about his mom's friend that I think people kind of accepted him kind of as a meme quarterback.
Yeah.
But now I think they're kind of get passing that. He was 9 for 22 for 77 yards, and I mean, we kind of see with this Jets team, if they can't get the run game going, then they're screwed, and we saw that. And the fact that he thinks the offense did nothing wrong is the completely wrong mindset, and I'm glad he's not going to be starting this next game. He was actually informed today.
I was just about to say, fast forwarding to next week real quick. He's a healthy scratch, so I picked up Mike White to start in one of my fantasy leagues. Just because my quarterback situation's already terrible, but Mike White played one game against Cincinnati a couple years ago and he went off. So I kind of did it as a meme because my team in that league is already terrible. I'm 2-7, 2-8, something like that.
In our fantasy league, you just lost the second time.
I got swept by you, which is ridiculous. That's okay. I'm still in the playoff standings. That's all that matters. In another one of my leagues, I'm in 4 leagues. If you guys are wondering, but I have a league where I work with a bunch of people that I work with, and last week I had a 6% chance, and I looked at one of my friends at work and I go, that's all I need. That's all I need is a 6% chance to make the playoffs. I scored the most amount of points last week as out of anyone in the league. Scored 167 points. I'm now up to a 12% chance to make the playoffs. So we're making money moves here. But yeah, getting back to actual NFL football, going back, and we'll talk about the Eagles and the Colts game. It's a little hard to tell on the picture, but we both did pick the Eagles in this game. And honestly, I feel like the Eagles are taking more trash than they deserve in this game because yes, they played terribly and it was way closer than it should have been. But at the end of the day, if you think about it, the fact that they were to take on the adversity that they did and then take it all the way throughout the game and then come out and win the game, missing Dallas Goedert, who's a key piece of their offense, the rushing game couldn't get going. Like, there were so many components of the game where they should have lost, and they were able to win. And I think that's ultimately a bigger piece than just losing to a team who is a lesser opponent, or almost losing to a team as a lesser opponent. That's where I feel you see the fans who are kind of like, whatever, like they're fair weather NFL fans.
I understand that, and you guys did win, even though you played like crap. But this should be a worrying performance, considering that the Colts are kind of built like the teams that you're going to be facing upcoming in the playoffs. If you look at it, the Titans, I think they're just a better version of the Colts. I mean, I think that's what they are, and
I do have to say though, this is something that I wanted to hold until we actually do our podcast, but I'll mention it on here. First off, Jalen Hurts outrushed Jonathan Taylor in that game. And Jalen Hurts only had 88 yards, I believe, rushing.
Yeah.
Secondly, Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh, absolute game changers. Those guys came off their couch, quite literally off their couch, and came out and made a huge difference. They didn't, and you saw it in the game, because in the first series, they didn't play Linval Joseph or Ndamukong Suh at all. And Jonathan Taylor ran the ball right down their throats. It was a 10-play drive. They ran the ball 8 times and passed it twice and walked right into the end zone. And then after that, they started using Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh in the middle, and the run game was shut down for the entire game. So you definitely see a change in their run defense with Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh in there.
I understand that, but I still think that it's something you need to worry about. And for the first half, or probably the first 3 quarters, the Colts really were whooping you on the time of possession. That's something I think you need to worry about. If you look at the Titans, I think they're a better version of the Colts, and they're really going to try and do a similar game plan, and I think they can. So I think that's going to be a difficult matchup. Say, like, skip forward to the playoffs. If the Seahawks pick things up and make it, they're a similar team to that as well, where their passing game isn't going to knock you lights out, but it's good enough to support their very good run game and pretty decent defense. So I think that's something they need to worry about. But I mean, the Colts had a similar game plan to the Commanders last week, and I just think that's something you guys need to address, because you almost lost for the second week in a row against a very similar game plan. The limiting of turnovers, I think, was the game changer. You guys, unlike the Commanders game,
and we still had 2 turnovers. In the past 2 games, they've had 6 total turnovers.
Limit them. Yeah, you limited them.
I think ultimately, again, it's just the offense shooting themselves in the foot. Like that. So the first turnover, A.J. Brown should have held onto that ball. There's no reason he should have fumbled that. The second turnover, Yannick Ngakoue came off the edge, and they left Miles Sanders to block him all by himself. Like that, you're Miles Sanders. I don't care how good of a running back you are. Unless you're Derrick Henry, you are not stopping a full speed defensive end coming around the edge, hunting for that ball. So, I mean, the second turnover, they were both terrible turnovers. And I just wanted to mention the time of possession that you mentioned. The time of possession was basically equal. It was 29.
At the end of the game, I think that's where the Eagles really were able to pick it up.
See, I don't even really think it looked like a worse game than I don't think the Eagles looked like they had the ball much at all. That's just my personal opinion. But I mean, another really big thing that I took away from this is that's Jalen Hurts' first NFL fourth quarter comeback. So not fourth quarter comeback, last drive comeback, like game winning drive. So I think that's another big piece, because that's a different type of quarterback. If you can take your team on a game-winning drive, I feel like that's a little bit different. So, I mean, that's just another takeaway. Again, this is something that I want to talk more in depth to, because I think I could talk a lot more about this game. But moving on to the other game of ours, Washington at the Texans. This one, an absolute domination by you guys.
Yeah, amazing game defensively. I think we've really seen Jack Del Rio find his footing with this team, and the team, at least defensively, it looks amazing. We had 5 sacks, 2 interceptions. Derek Forrest and Cam Curl look like our future safeties. They look really good. St. Juice looks amazing. He looks like he could really be something in the future. Kendra Fuller had a pick six. Amazing game defensively and offensively. I mean, we did what we needed to. I was saying this last year that Heineke can be successful if our defense is, and he just needs to do enough. And we saw that in this game.
He didn't have a great game.
Yeah, but
I don't even think he passed for 200 yards.
No, 191. But we were able to run the ball very efficiently, and we were able to really scrap things out. But for me, the most impressive thing in this game is that Dameon Pierce had 10 carries for 8 yards. I think that's amazing considering what he was able to do against you guys and other teams. So,
Whoa.
Very great. Yeah, very good win for us.
I think there was also because I feel like, hang on, let me just double check before I go into this, but that's another reason why Dameon Pierce wasn't getting going. They were down 20-0 by the by half. So I mean, when you go down that big, they were down 14-0 with 11 minutes left in the first. I mean, when you look at it like that, it's the offense needs to then go more one-dimensional. So I think they were looking for chunk plays. So it's hard to get your running back going. And I mean, like you said, Dameon Pierce, he is an insane running back. He carries a lot of their offense. So yes, shutting him down is a big piece. And 10 carries for 8 yards is insane. That is like unthinkable numbers usually for a defense. But yeah, I think that's also a factor of the fact that they had to pass a lot because they were down the entire game. So yeah, not taking anything away from Washington's defense.
No, well, that's like the game plan you need to do, and that's the same one we need to do for the Giants, skipping a little bit ahead to that. But, I mean, that's part of the game plan. The defense executed. The team as a whole executed. The only thing I would like to see is I think they need to be better in the red zone. We had a few field goals towards towards their end zone where I think you probably should try to score because once we face the Giants or the Cowboys, we're not going to be able to really afford to take as many field goals as we did. But other than that, I really cannot complain about this game.
Going on to the Rams at Saints game. This one kind of surprised me. I picked the Rams to win. You picked the Saints to win. Not a very pretty game overall.
No.
And I thought the Rams were going to pull off the comeback at the end, but I think Matt Stafford went out again with another injury.
He did. And Andy Dalton had he had a very good game. 21 for 25, 260, and 3 touchdowns.
And that Chris Olave bomb, that was a huge piece of the game. That was at the end to really like put him away, like make the game, put the game away a little bit. That made it 24-14 going into the fourth quarter. And I think that made it just kind of put it a little bit further away from because the Rams weren't really producing on offense. Dude, the defending Super Bowl champs are 3-7.
Yeah, that is good.
Absurd. And I'm sure Matthew Stafford is hurting without Cooper Kupp. But you're starting to see Allen Robinson come to life now as he had 4 for 47.
Finally.
Yeah, so it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens with the Rams. I mean, they look terrible right now. I obviously they're probably not going to make the playoffs, but they do not look good right now. Cleveland at Buffalo, which was actually in Detroit due to the snow. Buffalo handled Cleveland pretty easily. I saw early that it was 7-0 Cleveland, and then it just kind of hovered at 7-3 for a while, and I'm like, no way, is Cleveland going to pull this off? Are they going to give Buffalo like their third straight loss? No way. And but Buffalo figured it out and ended up pulling out the win. It's kind of, I feel like, yeah, they had a weird score for a little bit. It was 22-10 and then 25-10.
You really saw them utilize the run game a lot more than we've seen in the past.
Which is weird. I feel like the Bills want to use their run game more because, I mean, Devin Singletary over the past couple of weeks has been racking up the carries, and he's racking up the yards. 18 for 86 and a touchdown again this week. I mean, he's been doing pretty well as as a kind of under the radar back for the Bills lately.
And James Cook was 11 for 86, so two 86-yard rushers. So very good. Jonathan Allen threw under 200 yards, but didn't throw a pick and had a touchdown. So
Can't
decent
complain
win for the
there.
Bills.
Yeah, especially when he's been struggling the last couple of weeks, throwing. I want to say it was 5 red zone interceptions in the past 2 weeks, not counting this one.
Yeah.
So he was definitely struggling. Baltimore at Carolina, or Carolina at Baltimore, excuse me. Nothing really to talk about here. Baltimore takes care of business. I mean, you want to talk about barely beating an underperforming team. 13-3 over Carolina. I think
the Ravens' lack of offensive weapons is kind of showing this season, at least in terms of passing.
Yeah, they're still missing a bunch of running backs.
Yeah, they're a great running team when they have them, but they still need a decent wide receiver or two.
Lamar Jackson only 209 with an interception on 24 passes. Not great. Not a great day for him, but they get the win, and that's what matters. They're 7-3. They're having a low-key decent season. I thought they were going to be struggling this season. Detroit at the Giants. I want to talk about this game. This game we both picked the Giants to win, and Detroit is kind of on a sneaky little win streak right now. They've been.
I mean, it's not going to really lead to anything, but they are playing pretty decent, and they kind of showed how to beat the Giants. And credit to them, they were able to get out early. They were able to run all over the Giants, and then they turned them into a passing team. And you saw.
And
Daniel
then you see the weakness of Daniel Jones.
Yep. And I think that's how they found a way to beat them. So I think Washington's going to be looking at that. Do you guys play them?
Yes, we still have to play them twice.
Yeah, we do too. So we're going to be looking at that. So, and especially Washington is really going to be looking at that because we probably feel we can beat them. And if we probably want to overtake them in the division. So I think that's a big confidence booster for the rest of the NFC and the NFC East.
And by the time he comes back, they should have Avonte Maddox back. They should have Jordan Davis back. So they'll have their starting slot corner, another big man in the middle by the time they come back to help shut down Saquon. So
if you shut down Saquon and force them into a passing offense, you really see the deficiency of this team.
So Giants fall to 7. Oh, they're 7-3. Okay, I thought that was 7-4 for some reason,
Nope.
but they're 7-3. Dallas is 7-3. Eagles are 9-1, and Washington 6-5. Correct?
Yeah, and we're like 5 or 4-1 with Heineke, which is insane.
Yeah, the NFC East right now is just going ballistic.
We're 6-5, and that's good enough for division leads in other NFC divisions.
Going over to the Raiders at the Broncos. Oh, I also want to mention real quick how Detroit. You're starting to see the switch from DeAndre Swift to Jamal Williams. Now, I don't think this is DeAndre Swift's fault. DeAndre Swift has been playing injured all season.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part of it.
I think that hurts him. So imagine if they actually had DeAndre Swift and then you had that bang backfield of DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, because Jamal Williams had a big game himself.
Yes, he did.
So, I mean, that just goes to show their backfield is hard to deal with without DeAndre Swift. But the Raiders at the Denver game, this was kind of a good game. This was a decent game to watch. This was definitely one of the more interesting games of the week. A lot of these games
Adams had a huge game.
Yeah, a lot of these games were really low scoring, but I mean, not that this one was high scoring, but this one was at least close. Kept it interesting throughout the entire game, and the Raiders ended up pulling off the win. And again, this is another one that's hard to see. I did pick the Raiders. You picked Denver, but they ended up on a game tying drive. They took it into overtime at the end from Derek Carr, and I mean the biggest play there was Josh Jacobs was wide open on the sideline for like 40 yards at the end of the game, and they got down to the red zone and were able to punch it in to tie the game up and go into overtime. And actually, I think they kicked a field goal, is what I think tied it up. Yeah, it was a field goal that tied it up. Excuse me. So, that was a big game for them. They took it into overtime, and Devontae Adams wide open on like a 50-yard pass into the end zone. So, Las Vegas comes out, finally wins another game. They're 3-7, which is insane. Like, I thought the NFC or AFC West was going to be the AFC East this season.
Yeah.
I thought they were all going to be really good, and I mean, not that they're all struggling, but Denver and Las Vegas definitely struggling. They're both only 3-7, and then the Chargers are 5-6, and Kansas City, they're doing normal Kansas City things at 8-2. But moving on to the Cowboys Vikings game, I don't think there's much to talk about here.
Domination.
Tony Pollard made the Vikings his son. He had a huge game.
Yeah, the Cowboys were just able to impose the will. We kind of saw what this team is going to look like in the future, where Pollard is going to be getting a lot of passes, and he's going to get a lot of the big rushing yards, like the big over-the-middle rushing yards. Yeah. But Zeke Elliott had 2 touchdowns that were closer in, so I think that's what's going to happen.
Starting to see the fall off of Zeke.
Well, I think Pollard's going to be getting a bigger role, and they're 2 different backs, and I think they're going to be using Pollard more now. I think we're going to see that switch.
And I think that's where the fall off of Zeke is going to come in, because even though Pollard is a smaller guy, he still rushes hard in between the tackles.
He's explosive. He's looking very good, and the Cowboys, if they continue to play like this, they're going to be a hard team to beat.
But
at least until the playoffs come.
I was just about to say, the Cowboys are a team, like, I still don't really believe in the Cowboys because, well, yes, they're playing well and they are a decent team, but the Cowboys are such a hit or miss team, as you saw. Like, you saw them against the Packers where they were up by 14 in the fourth quarter and dropped the game and lost. But then you see them come back out and just absolutely dominate the 8-1 Vikings. Like, they are such an on and off team and don't really know if they're going to show up to a game. So the Vikings are a team I don't really know about.
You can say the same thing about the Eagles the past few weeks, whether it's dropping the ball against Washington or having that really bad game against the Colts.
The Eagles haven't given up a 14-point lead in the fourth. The Eagles, even though they play bad, they're finding ways to win. The Cowboys come out and they're just flat. Like, I think they went flat against the Packers, and then they came out and just exploded. And I'm just going off of the Packers game was Dak's first game back, correct?
It was one of his first games back.
Hang on. I
think it was his first.
I want to double check before. Oh, no, the Bears game was his first game back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're just seeing, like, and the Bears game, another game where they dominated. They won 49-29, but then you go to the Packers game, they finish out that game flat, and then they go back out and they just dominate the Vikings. So they're very kind of up and down with their play, and it's not something they're not. Again, not that I'm saying they're not a good team, but I'm just not quite sold on them yet. I think...
Yeah, I'm interested to see how the second matchup with you guys plays out. I think that's really going to be the tell-all for both of these teams.
Well, I mean, let's see. According to their pattern right now, they'd be playing badly against the Eagles.
But who knows with the NFC East? We try to overanalyze this too much.
Going to the Bengals at the Steelers game, I think the biggest piece here was Najee Harris. I mean, even though they lost...
I almost predicted the upset. It was a very close game, closer than it should have been.
It looks closer than it was. I mean, the Steelers scored a late game touchdown to make it a one-score game, because I was watching bits and pieces of that game, but... I mean, the Cincinnati was close all the way up until the fourth quarter, and then Cincinnati pulled away. But Najee Harris, though, he had a huge game. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, and then with that he had 90 rushing yards on 20 carries, averaging 4.5 yards per carry, and then he had another 4 receptions for 26 yards. So he had a big game.
Shout out to former Redskins Samaje Perine, who had 3 catching touchdowns. So shout out to him.
Samaje Perine had a big game, and that was due to the loss of Joe Mixon, who went into concussion protocol. So he's a guy who I'd be looking at for waiver wires this week if he's available. Because if Joe Mixon doesn't play, he plays really well. Going to the Chiefs at the Chargers. This game, I picked the Chargers to win this one.
To you, but Yeah, it's a tough loss for the Chargers.
Dude, I mean, and you can't even blame Justin Herbert for that pick at the end
No.
because it was a tip ball. But I mean, Keenan Allen came out; he played really well. But and Justin Herbert also lost Mike Williams early in the game. Mike Williams went out with the ankle early in the game, and so he was stuck with Keenan Allen. Joshua Palmer had a big game, but they, like I said, you were saying how the Chargers were struggling, and I said it doesn't matter. Patrick Mahomes against Justin Herbert, that is a game. Every single time it's a game, a 3-point game. I thought, but yeah, I mean the Chiefs are the Chiefs. Did Travis Kelce have 2 or 3 touchdowns?
3.
Yeah, I mean he is absurd. So that's, but yeah, that one hurts a little bit. I thought for sure they were going to be able to pull it out and get the win, but they ended up choking it again, as they did earlier in the season. And closing out the Monday night in Mexico City, San Fran at Arizona, technically, but it was in Mexico. And San Fran just dominates Arizona. I mean, there's nothing really to talk about here. San Fran's another. Oh, go ahead.
The duo of McCoy and McSorley could not do anything.
San Fran is another team that I think is like the Cowboys, where it's like when they win big, but when they lose, they're losing in a ugly fashion. But they come out and they win big against an NFC West rival. There it is. Okay. Yeah, they came out and won big against an NFC West rival, but they definitely have their glimpses of looking like an NFC juggernaut here and there. They're only 6-4. Like they're not doing too great. Or it's not that they're doing bad, but they're definitely like, I feel like they could be doing better. So that closes it out for week 11. I think we can fast forward to week 12. There it is. All right, so Thursday night football, Thanksgiving week, no team on a bye week. Every team is playing this week. So starting out, and you had me confused because you were talking about playing the Giants, so I thought you were talking about this week, but my head was lost.
The week after.
First, on that's the one thing I love about Thanksgiving is just football all day. Just get to sit and watch football all day. So, Buffalo at Detroit.
Buffalo.
Buffalo, I'm pretty sure they went back, which I don't know why, but they had to play in Detroit this week, and then they went back, and then they're coming back. Like, I feel like you should have just stayed there. That would have been so much easier on everyone involved. Now, I wonder if there was, like, parts of it, like, they couldn't find somewhere to practice or what the whole thinking was there, but yeah. I'm interested to see how that affects their team. But I'm going to... Actually, you know what? I'm going to pick the upset. I'm going to pick Detroit with... Dude, they're on a 3-game winning streak right now. Buffalo has been struggling recently.
You've been big on the Lions throughout this entire
I have. Year. And their offense is still really good. But, I mean, I'm just thinking at it like this. Buffalo has traveled multiple hours in the past, 3 days. They're going to be tired. Then they're going from Detroit back to Buffalo, back to Detroit. The Lions are coming out. They're on a 3-game winning streak. They're riding high right now. Josh Allen has struggled. I'm going to pick the upset, and I'm going to pick Detroit. This might just be me trying to, pick something different, but we'll see. We'll see if I regret this come next week. I might switch before we finish this.
No, you're not.
Next, your game of the week, the Giants at the Cowboys. So you want to go ahead and give your insight on why this is a good pick to pick as
it's NFC East. It's 4:30. It's Thanksgiving. I just think it's going to be a big game. I think we're going to see the Cowboys kind of take advantage of the Giants, but I think the Giants are good enough to make it close enough.
So you said Dallas is going to win?
Yep.
I think so. Dallas won last time. This is a rough one. This is a hard one. I think it will be a good game, like you said. 4:30 Thanksgiving prime time. The only thing is I'm just struggling to think about how the defense will affect the Giants because I feel like they don't have a great rushing defense. So I feel like Saquon could have a big game, and if he does, I think they could win. But again, just to switch it up, I'm gonna go with New York here. I think they can go for the split, especially the way New York has been playing this season. I feel like they could split them because Dallas won last time, so I'm gonna go with New York, even though it's in Dallas. Next, New England at Minnesota.
I'm gonna go with New England for this one reason. It's primetime Kirk Cousins, so that's not a good combination.
I will agree with you there. I as much as I want to see the Vikings win and keep their little hope, their glimpse of being an NFC top seed alive, I don't think that, like you said, it's primetime Kirk Cousins. He definitely struggles there. But Green Bay at Philly. This is one I struggled between this and my game of the week for this week on which one I wanted to pick. Just because I feel like the way Philly has been playing, they're going to keep the Packers in this way more than they should be. And Aaron Rodgers, I know he has his stuff against Dallas, but he is usually one who also kills the Eagles. But I'm going to go with the Eagles finally getting vengeance on Aaron Rodgers and pick the Eagles in this one.
I am too.
Next, Tampa at the Browns. This one, I'm kind of lost on. This is the final week before Deshaun Watson gets to come back.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Browns because Jacoby Brissett had like 300 yards last week, so he had a pretty decent game. So I'm gonna go with the Browns.
I mean, that's not a terrible. The Bills do have a good defense. I'm going to pick Tampa Bay here. Tampa Bay has a good defense. They've bounced back a couple times recently. They're coming off of a bye, so they're fresh. So I'm gonna pick Tampa Bay in this one. Now my game of the week, the Bengals at the Titans. I believe this was the wild card round last year. Or no, they had the week 1 bye, so I believe they played in the second round of the playoffs last season. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But the Bengals, they've been definitely picking it up the past couple of weeks. I don't really know yet if Jamar Chase is playing, and if he is, I think that's definitely a big. Jamar Chase is questionable for this game, so Joe Mixon questionable. They have a couple big names that might not play, but if they do play, I feel Cincinnati has a good chance. But I think this will be a really good game to watch. I'm going to pick, and you know what? I'm going to keep on riding with Cincy. I'm going to pick Cincy in this one.
I'm going to go with the Titans because I think they're going to really try and dominate time of possession, and I think they are. And I just think the Titans' defense is going to be able to get to Joe Burrow enough, and I think we're going to see Burrow throw enough picks because we've seen him do it throughout this year.
I'll tell you what, this is probably a big Derrick Henry game. Big Derrick Henry game. Texans at the Dolphins. I don't think there's the Dolphins look like an offensive juggernaut this season, so I think we can.
And I know the Texans are going to be starting Washington legend Kyle Allen, but I got to go with the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Dolphins too. Next is the Bears at the Jets.
Bears.
With Mike White, I'm picking Mike White. I ride with Mike White. He had that big game against Cincy last year. I want to see him do it again. I'm going with the Jets.
I could go with the Bears. Their offense has looked really good these past few weeks. They haven't been able to find wins, but they've been very close. So I got to go with the Bears.
Oh, okay. Next is the Falcons at the Commanders.
Washington. Chase Young may come back, but even without him, our defense has looked.
Yeah, they activated him to the active roster, so that's huge.
Which it's not confirmed he's going to be playing, but I just think this defense is playing way too good for the Falcons.
Yeah, I also think that the Commanders are going to win this. Marcus Mariota is not a starting NFL quarterback at this point in time. I think, like you said, the defense is playing really well. Marcus Mariota is going to struggle. I'm going with the Commanders here. Denver at the Panthers. This should be one Denver should win, but
It's Denver.
I want to. I'm gonna pick Denver, but I would not be surprised if somehow Carolina comes out and upsets Denver. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I'm gonna go with the Panthers. I'm probably gonna regret this, but every single time it feels like I've put my faith in the Broncos. They've let me down, so I can't keep
that's
doing
true.
that.
And I mean, hey, you're coming at me for riding with Detroit. You're the upset man.
It's worked out a few weeks.
You go with so many upsets. I'm gonna stick with Denver though. Baltimore at Jacksonville.
Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Baltimore. I feel like Jacksonville. This is another one where Jacksonville could win, but I think Baltimore should be able to win this. They are the better team, and the way that they've been struggling, I wouldn't be surprised if Jacksonville somehow pulls it off. The Chargers at the Cardinals. I'm gonna pick the Chargers here. I still really like them as a team. The Cardinals are struggling. And I just saw this stat yesterday. Kyler Murray has yet to win a game since the new Call of Duty came out.
Yeah, and it's the new Warzone, actually. But, yeah, I just don't know what's happening there, whether they're going to be starting him, McCoy, or McSorley. I trust the Chargers a lot more, considering they put up a very good fight against the Chiefs.
Next is the Las Vegas Raiders at Seattle. And I think the is a big point there because Las Vegas is coming off a big win, but Seattle is one of the hardest places to play in the nation. So I'm going to pick Seattle here. And, again, another team coming fresh off of a bye. LA Rams at the Kansas City Chiefs. Never thought this would be such an easy matchup to pick, but Kansas City.
If you were to say this at the beginning of this, you'd think, man, that's going to be game of the week, awesome game. But I think they're going to get run over by the Chiefs.
I agree with you. Next is New Orleans at San Fran.
San Fran. I think Christian McCaffrey has really transformed that offense, especially, and I just think there would be way too much for the Saints.
Yeah, San Fran's looking really good recently. I'm also gonna pick San Fran. The Saints not looking great. Obviously, they're dealing with a bunch of injuries, so I'm going to pick San Fran there too. And finally, Pittsburgh at Indy. And I think Indy has found their offense under Jeff Saturday where they're finally utilizing the run more.
Very strange.
Yeah, they're finally utilizing the run more, so I'm gonna close it out with Indy on Monday night.
Me too.
That will close it off for this week. If you guys want to check out our Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff will be over here on this side. You could also email us at blndc@gmail.com with questions or comments that we can put in our actual podcast to address. If you guys want to check out our podcast, it's Brotherly Love in the District on Spotify and Apple, and we do this every week on our YouTube at Brotherly Love in the District. So if you guys want to check all that stuff out, look up Brotherly Love in the District, and that'll give you access to all of it. And with that, we are going to end it off there. So we will see you guys next week.